But yeah, welcome everyone. This is we're getting back into the swing of things. We're getting back into interviews and getting back into podcasting. So this is great. Welcome. If you're watching live today, drop your name in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from, what you're doing, all of that. I like to see y'all. I like to have interactive conversation with y'all as listeners. So this is your chance to ask us questions as we're talking about email marketing and all of that. You can drop your questions in there, and I'll bring them in whenever it makes sense. But yeah, okay, sweet. I see we got a few people in here already. Awesome.
Yay!
Well, cool. Well, yeah, we're all set. I think we can go ahead and get going. But yeah, well, Hope Taylor, welcome to the podcast. I am very excited to have you here. Very excited for the topic as well, and probably talk a little bit about your wedding too, because I am just like all the photos that I've seen so far. I'm just like, yes, this is like so dreamy, so very much you. So, but yeah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm also so excited. I know we were chatting before we went live, but we're both getting back in the swing of things. This is my first
Mm-hmm.
interview since wedding honeymoon things. And so I've been out for a few weeks now, and I don't get to talk about this topic as often as I would like to. I think it's so important. So I'm super, super stoked to be here.
Yes. Yeah. Well, welcome. I am super stoked to have you here and to talk about this topic because it is something that not a lot of people talk about, or whenever people do talk about it, it tends to be very I don't know, just kind of like stuffy and
Yeah. Yep.
boring. It's just like, and this is
I
why you
agree.
do it, and these are the numbers, and it's like, oh, this isn't
Yeah.
fun. But
Yeah. Well,
but yeah.
and overcomplicated too. Like I feel like anytime I hear people
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
it, it's overcomplicated and really intimidating. And I don't feel like it has to be. So I'm excited.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to a not so complicated look on email marketing. But before we get into that, could you give everyone just kind of like a little background on you, what you do, where you're based, and all that kind of stuff?
Sure. Yeah. So I am a photographer that focuses primarily on high school seniors. I'm based in Savannah, Georgia, but I also photograph in Charleston, South Carolina pretty frequently. I started my business when I was a 15-year-old high school student. So that's kind of the unique perspective that I have coming into all of this. That was
Yeah.
10 years ago now, which is bananas. But I started a business my junior year and went into my senior year as pretty much a full-time business owner because I only did school half the day, and I went full-time right out of high school. So since then, my business was just photography back in those days, and in the last 6 years or so, I've transitioned into primarily being more passive income and education and online digital business, which I absolutely love. I'd say I'm about 80% education, 20% photographer still. But that's just kind of the Cliff Notes version of how we got to
Nice.
where we are now. But yeah, it's been a wild, wild ride. Can't believe it's been 20 years. Oh
20.
gosh, 10 years. But still feels like a long time.
Yeah, it feels like 20 years already.
It does.
Uh,
It does.
yeah, yeah. I mean, really, just like the whole photography industry has changed so much in the last 10 years that it
Yep.
feels like 20 years sometimes, where it's like, what were we
It
even
does.
doing 10 years ago for like, marketing and all that kind of stuff? Like, I didn't have an email list 10 years ago. I didn't even
No.
know. I had never put email and list together in a sentence. But
We didn't
yeah.
even have Instagram stories. I mean, like we
No.
we
Oh
had
yeah, that
nothing.
was we had to go on Snapchat for all of that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. How was it like? So I also started a business when I was 15, not photography. Um,
Love that.
but yeah, it was fun. My brother and I and one of our good friends, we started a t-shirt screen printing business because we kept being like, why isn't this a shirt? I want to wear this as a shirt. And then
Love it.
we looked up, I don't know, I think YouTube was around back then. I'm aging myself a little
It
bit. It
was.
was okay.
No,
Yeah.
it had to have been, I think.
Probably. It was definitely the early stages of YouTube because that would have been like 2003.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and we found some Martha Stewart video of her like creating a stencil and then like actually rolling paint onto a shirt, and we were like, we can do that. And then we started a business.
I
And
love it.
yeah, so I always love hearing other people who started businesses and like had that like pretty much born an entrepreneur from a young age. How is it like for you starting your business in photography? Like, how'd you get into that?
So basically, I love that you just mentioned kind of being born into entrepreneurship. I feel like that sounds so dramatic, but like when I look back at my life, that's really how I feel. Like, so my mom made cakes out of our house growing up. I feel like this is important
Same,
context.
very much the same.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. And so I kind of saw her doing that. My dad was military, so she was really just doing it to make extra money as
Also the
my
same. This is
siblings
really
were growing
weird.
up.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, that's wild. And so I saw her doing that, and that was kind of my introduction to what entrepreneurship and working for yourself could look like. And
Hmm.
I was basically hooked from that moment on. Like when we had garage sales, I would get up at 6 a.m. and if it was cold, I'd make hot cocoa. And if it was hot, I'd make lemonade. And I would sell things starting at 6 in the morning right alongside my parents. And I mean, I have just always loved just the making money for yourself by working for yourself and coming up with ways to create that revenue. So that was kind of the context, but I always knew I wanted to do something for myself, had no idea what that was going to look like. So in my June, it would have been my junior year. Actually, it would have been my sophomore year. I was working a retail job at, if the girls are tuning in, it's called
Mm.
Justice, the little girls clothing store. Like kind of like Libby Lou if you're from the 90s like me.
Uh-huh.
But I worked at that retail store making minimum wage. I was 16, so they limited the hours that I could work. So, I mean, I was just so kind of stuck on what I could do and the money I could make. And that drove me bananas. So, I took a photojournalism class my sophomore year. Bless my dad's heart, he had no idea I was signing up for this class. And it was a requirement to have a DSLR camera. And he was in the military and I was making $7 an hour. So, he was the one that had to help me get the DSLR
Uh-huh.
camera. And so we got a used one off of eBay that was, I mean, 150 bucks, something like that. And I went into this photojournalism class knowing very little, but came out knowing how to use my camera and manual. And it really just started with me taking photos for friends. And somebody gave me 50 bucks on the way out of a shoot to say thank you. And I was like, $50 an hour versus seven feels
Right.
like a good idea. And that's just kind of how the ball started rolling then.
Wow, that's very cool. It's like as you're talking, I didn't realize we had so many parallels in our stories. So it was like, I
Crazy.
mean, I didn't work at what was it, Justice or
Justice.
just yeah, I didn't work there.
I wish you had. That would have been funny.
That would have been fun. Yeah, like I also worked there. But yeah, like that. I remember that feeling of having your camera and just like taking photos for friends, and because I think I was working like I don't know, like $8 an hour or something like that. I was a
Sure, yeah.
janitor at the time, and just like emptying trash and scrubbing toilets, which was not fun. Taking photos is much more fun. And
Definitely
I
more
I
fun.
took photos for someone, and they did the same thing where they tipped me like 25 bucks, and I was like, this is like 3 hours of work, that
Oh,
like
yeah.
3 hours of pay for the 1 hour photo shoot that I did. And of course, there was the whole back end of editing and
I was gonna
everything that
say,
I
yeah. Now
I did
we
not
know
know about
better.
yet. Yeah. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
my first wedding that I photographed for $200 because I was like, that's 20 bucks an hour for this 10
Oh,
hour
yeah.
wedding. This is great. And yeah. And then editing came in, and I was like, it is not $20 an hour anymore.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
not so great anymore.
yeah. But yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool how like one class that you decided to take, one course just completely shaped the way for the future of your business and your life, and in like teaching other people how to run businesses and everything. And so I love that like one little decision changes everything. But
Totally.
yeah,
It really
that
does.
is that is so cool. So okay, over like this last 10 years of business, has there been a lesson or a a piece of advice or something that you've kind of come across that just changed the way that you think about business, the way that you look at life in general?
Yeah, so I think there's 2 kind of life experiences or seasons that come to my mind when I get asked this question or talk about this. And
Mhm.
one was pivotal specifically to email marketing that we're going to talk about today. And then one was more recent. But the first was it would have been 2015-16 timeframe. So I graduated high school in 2014. So this would have been a year into being full time, really trying to prove to everybody, like, hey, not going to college was a good idea. Like,
Right,
I
yeah.
was just really hustling. And I was doing six figures in revenue. So at the time, I'm like, this is everything I ever wanted. Like, this is what I have been working towards. But on the inside, I was so beyond burnt out, drained, exhausted. And what a lot of people actually didn't know is I was putting myself in the hospital because of the stress I was putting my body under. Like,
Mm,
they thought I had an autoimmune disorder. Like, I was so unbelievably drained. I was shooting 7 or 8 times a week, like multiple sessions a day, but I was also doing workshops and kind of getting the ball rolling on this education side of my business. And I was just burning the midnight oil and pouring from an empty cup in like the most intense way you can think of. I was exhausted. And I just remember I was at my parents' house and my mom and I were watching Gossip Girl in the basement. And
nice.
I just had like just this meltdown of like, something has to change. This is what I thought I wanted, but it's not sustainable. I'm exhausted. I want to do this education stuff, but I don't have time because I'm so drained from photography. And it was kind of this switch that flipped of, okay, something has to change in order to scale this because this like level of work is not sustainable. And
Yeah.
I'm working in my business constantly, but never working on it to actually grow it. So I'm like in this hole that I can't climb out of. And so this switch kind of flipped then of, okay, I'm going to scale back on my service-based work so that I can scale this online version of my business. And I hadn't started an online version of my business yet. There was no email list, there was no nothing. I was like, I'm going to take a risk and I'm going to scale back on how many shoots I'm taking with the hope that this extra time I'm getting will give me the capacity to build something that will make up for that loss of revenue. And it did. So that was a big pivotal moment of like, listen to your body. Something has to give. We're going to scale back in one area to scale up in another. And that is really that's where my email list started. That's when I began selling courses and doing what I do now, really. So that was kind of pivotal moment number one. Pivotal number two was about 2 years ago when my sister's health has been suffering a little bit. She's talked about it online, actually. She has epilepsy,
Mhm.
and it's just put a lot into perspective for me in terms of how important work actually is and what actually matters. And that actually feeds into what we're going to talk about because starting that side of my business 5, 6 years ago now allowed me to have the freedom to be present in moments with her when she's needed me. And
Yeah.
it's been really cool to see kind of the full circle moment of those two really big, like kind of pivotal switch flip moments and how they've allowed me to be more present in seasons of life that really, really matter. So
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like I feel like that is like that health tends to do that a lot where it's because I ran into the same thing where I was just running
yeah.
myself into the ground because
Oh yeah.
I hit that six figure mark and it's like I've got to keep this up now. I can't be the
Yep.
photographer that got to six figures and then went back down to like 70K. Like
Sure.
I've got to keep
Yeah.
this up and also like providing for the family and all of that.
Of course. Yeah.
We we've got three kids, and I think at that time we had two, and our third was on the way. And I was like,
Yeah.
I've gotta keep going, and really just ran myself into the ground. And it was a similar kind of awakening of I can't keep doing this. I can't scale. Like this is
Yeah.
already I'm past the limit of what I can physically do for this business.
Right.
So if I want to move forward, something has to change. And
100%.
I feel like that happens to a lot of people. And that's so good that you're like open about that, speaking about that, so that other people, the listeners today, they can hear that story and then be like, I don't have to get to that point. I don't have to run myself to where I'm going to the hospital because my body is shutting down.
Yeah.
But they can start to see the signs and be like, oh, I can put this into place to where I can shift, either shifting into education, like you, or like with me, where I was like, I can't keep charging this amount for a
Of
wedding.
course, yeah.
I've gotta, I was shooting like, 40 something weddings in a year, and that
Yeah.
takes a lot on you, on
Oh,
your
it
body.
absolutely does. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think for anybody listening too that maybe feels like they've hit that point and
Mm,
they haven't given themselves the permission or the freedom to scale back somewhere or make a change, I think that I wish that somebody had like pointed me out and been like, you don't have to keep that up. Like, just because your business is doing well and you're making money doesn't necessarily mean that you have to just stay there and like plateau at this level of exhaustion. Like, you have options. And I wish somebody had just like sat me down and said that to me back then. So no matter
yes.
what season you're in, I think there'll be takeaways from this conversation. But if you're at that point, you're allowed to make a change. You're allowed to scale back a little bit, and it can lead to growth and not a decrease in revenue, like you were mentioning, that fear that we all have when we hit that point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, okay, I gotta scale back, and then that's going to mean I have to scale back in my revenue,
Right.
and I have to scale back on everything, and that's always scary. And we have a comment from Laura. She was saying, well, first, yes, yes, yes. Just so many yeses. Hope. She says something has to give. I've been at this pivotal moment for a while, but I have felt stuck or unsure of what decision or what direction to take. Do you have any
Yeah.
like maybe like
Yeah.
some pointers on how to figure out what decision or what direction you got to go?
Yeah, so I think for me, the direction that I went was the passive income kind of digital marketing space. I think that for
Mm,
any small business owner, that is a really smart angle to explore, no matter what it looks like for you. It doesn't have to be education. I think that's the biggest misconception people have, is that if you're going to scale your photography business, it has to be through education. Or if you're
right.
going to have passive income, you have to be a teacher. That's not true. I am an example of that, but there are so many examples of other ways to do this. So I think step one is just determining what needs to give. Is it that you need to be shooting less? Because then all you have to do is raise your prices, take on a little bit less work. That's an awesome starting point. If you are somebody that has a different side of your business that you want to explore, whether it's education or passive revenue, or I feel like some people are serial entrepreneurs and they have 10 ideas of things they want to start, but they
Yep.
just don't have the time. What that looks like on a very like tangible level for me is, so I'm known for high school senior portraits. That's what I photograph full time now. But back then, I knew that I had to have a break somewhere. There had to be some time that I got back in order to create this new side of my business. So what I did is I just very quietly behind the scenes, never announced it. Nobody ever knew it. But if I got a senior inquiry, I just responded with, "I'm so sorry I'm not available. Here are some references." And I did that for a full year. And so nobody really knew that I wasn't taking on senior sessions. I never posted like, "I'm done shooting seniors." I
Right.
just very quietly stopped taking them, still posted them from previous years so that I didn't lose the momentum of being in that market, because I knew I wanted to pick it back up someday, but it freed up my time in a huge way. So now I was focusing my money was coming in from my weddings and my workshops that I was doing. And it gave me the time and the capacity to kind of build this other side of my business. So if you have another side of your business you want to explore, you just need some time in order to do that. You can scale back in a way that doesn't lose your momentum. And that's
Mm,
exactly what I did.
yes, I think that is such a important part of it, and something that I like people don't really think about is
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm shifting out of seniors now. I'm wanting to do something different with my business. No more posting seniors. I'm gonna
Yep.
change my entire Instagram page and all of that. But like, yeah, that just kills your momentum. And then if you do plan to pick that up, or maybe the serial entrepreneur thing, as serial entrepreneurs, not everything is going to work out. You might go
Right.
into something for a year or two and then just be like, yeah, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, or the market's not there, or many other factors that you shut down that business and you come back. And if you hadn't been posting regularly of what you were doing, then there's no momentum, like you said, and then you don't have those inquiries constantly coming in. Because
Yeah.
also by you still receiving all those inquiries, you're like feeding those out to all your friends too, and just be
Hmm.
like, oh yeah,
That's
go check
exactly
out
what I
this
was
senior
doing.
photographer. Yeah. And
Yeah.
like that's helping build a network and community and all of that, which is amazing. I love networking community. But yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's a really great word of advice there. Okay. Hope, I know we're talking about email marketing.
Yeah.
How can we like start an email list? Because like you said earlier, it seems kind of daunting, and people are
It
always
does.
like explaining it in ways that are just like, I don't even know. I am lost from the first thing that you said. So I definitely can't
Yeah.
start an email list. How can someone like start an email list today, and why is that important to do so?
Yeah, so I completely agree with you that I think that people they kind of I feel like they talk about it in two different ways. It's like super technical and statistic based. Like here's
Uh-huh.
all the reasons it's important. Here's all these technical terms that you might not know, but I'm going to throw them at you anyway. Or it's overcomplicated in the fact that they tell you 10 different ways that you could do it and then you're like, "Well, I don't want to figure out which one of those 10 makes sense for me, so we're
Yeah.
just like we're not going to do that." And so that's how I felt kind of going into it. So rewind back to that conversation about that kind of pivotal meltdown with Gossip Girl in my parents' basement, like I knew something had to give in terms of me running on that hamster wheel because I wasn't just burnt out and exhausted from the shoots I was doing. I was burnt out and exhausted because the only way I was booking those shoots was if I was posting on Instagram, posting on Facebook, posting on Pinterest, sharing on my blog, pushing that blog post out on all of my social media platforms.
Mhm.
Twitter was still a thing, Snapchat was a thing, and scheduling your posts in advance. Like those programs weren't really out yet. Like you were actively having to do a lot of that.
Yeah.
And so that was the part to me that I was like, there has to be a way to streamline this. And that was around the time the algorithms started working against us, right? So I'm hoping when I post these things and put them out into the universe that people are seeing them and I'm running myself in the ground to keep up with that. But I don't even actually know if the content I'm creating is getting in front of my people. I have no idea.
Mhm.
And then I heard a podcast that talked about, okay, well, what if Instagram disappeared tomorrow? How would you talk to your audience? And that scared the crap out of me because I was a little cocky in the fact that I had, I think, 30 or 40,000 Instagram followers back then. I had a fairly big audience, and I was like, I don't need to worry about anything else. Like, I can just talk to my people here, and that's my
Right.
marketing strategy. But it scared me to think, okay, well, if Instagram glitched, if I got locked out or my account got stolen or, something horrible happened, I don't have a way to talk to my people. So that was kind of the shift for me mentally where I was like, okay, I want to streamline this and I also don't want to have to worry about third-party people being in charge of how I market and how I talk to my audience. So
Yeah.
what I did to start, I think a lot of people start their email list and they just have a thing on their website that says, sign up for my email list here and get my newsletter.
Mhm.
And that's great. It's a great thing to have. It's not a bad thing to have that, but it doesn't really tell your audience what they can expect. And it's not super enticing. Like giving someone your email address, that's prime real estate right there. I'm not going to give you my email address just because you tell me to. I
No.
want something of value to trade, right? So basically, in order to start an email list from a high level, all you have to do is offer your customers something that they find valuable in exchange for their email address. That's really all it is. That can be so many different things. It can be if you're an educator like I am, maybe you give a checklist of the camera gear that you use at your sessions. And to get that, they put in their email and you send it to them on their email. Now they're on your email list. It is that simple. Just exchanging some form of value for your customer's email address. For me back then, that was actually just starting a wait list for my workshops. That's all it was. Like, hey, I have a workshop coming up. If you want to be notified first, drop your email here. That's value. They want to be notified first.
Yeah.
And then it has scaled to being videos and webinars and all of these crazy things. But all you have to do to start is just have something valuable that you give your audience in exchange for their email address.
Yes, I think that is so good because oftentimes you get that like that pop up that's just like, "Hey, join my email list to be the first to know of all the new things." It's like, I mean, that's cool, but I don't really know you yet. Why do I want
Right.
to be the first to know? I don't even know what I'm going to know. And
Exactly.
yeah, having that like very straightforward and clear, hey, this is something that I know is going to be of value to you for your email address, because like my inbox is a sacred place. I don't just give that out to everyone. I have like my trash
Exactly.
email that I'll just sign up for things, and
Of
I'm like,
course.
like all the different food places that are like, if you sign up now, you get 20% off your order. I'm like, sure, yeah, here you go.
Yeah, I'd
Here's
love to.
yeah, and then I'm never gonna check this email.
Yep.
But like the one that I check, the one that is well, one, my business email is also very sacred, but my personal email, I'm like, I'm not just gonna give that out to anyone. But if you do have something that I deem valuable, yes, I will give it to you in
Absolutely.
exchange for that. So yeah, I think that is so good. And like putting yourself in the shoes of your target client, of what do they find valuable? Is it that
Yeah.
checklist for the gear? Is it a, like a webinar that you did a year ago that you have a replay up, and sure, they could probably find it somewhere online if they searched, but you can be like, hey, check out this webinar that I did. You can get it for free if you put in
Yeah.
your email address.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think the biggest thing that I hear back specifically from photographers is, okay, but how does that apply to me? Because I know you and I both give like kind of education based examples, but I have so many friends that use this specifically in their photography business. An example that comes to my mind, if you photograph seniors like me, is having a shopping guide, like a class of 2024 shopping guide. And it's all of your favorite stores to shop online for your senior pictures, but you just
Mhm.
put them all together in a list. And people value their time like no other, especially with how fast moving the digital world is these days.
Yes,
If you can
yes.
save them time by collecting all of the best places to shop in one place, and even level it up one step and use Amazon affiliate links to link all of your favorite outfits on Amazon, now you're making money off of a freebie and you're getting people on your email list. For brides, that could be all of your favorite places to shop for engagement photo outfits. It could be your favorite location in your specific geographic area if you're trying to reach brides in a certain city. There's so many angles to take on this that aren't education based. So I just wanted to be sure I mentioned that, because I know we probably have photographers tuning in like, nobody wants my gear checklist, but you
Right.
you still have value to add.
Yes. Yeah, and I think there are a lot of listeners that were probably thinking that same thing of just like, well, I'm not an educator, Hope. I'm like,
Exactly.
you're not just a photographer, but like, I am a photographer. What am I going to share? So that's really
Right.
great to think about what your clients, as photography clients, what do they need, what would they find valuable that you can put together. And I love the affiliate deal with Amazon, because that is just, it's something that just continues to go. And
Oh
like
yeah.
every now and then I'll check mine and just be like, I haven't actually like posted in a while, but I have so many blogs that link to different things, and then there'll just be like a spike of sales, and I'm
It's the
like, oh,
best.
I didn't even do anything, and I'm, making a few dollars over here. It's nothing crazy, but still, it compounds on itself. The more that you put it out there, the more opportunities people have to click and check out stuff. Uh,
Absolutely.
but yeah, so I know that like, I don't know, another overwhelming kind of daunting thing is like how often you should post, because some people, I'm sure myself included,
Yeah.
whenever I started my email list, I was like, I don't want to like get hundreds of people on an email list, and then I don't know what to say. I don't know, like, how
Yep.
often do I need to show up? Do I have to plan this out to where I'm showing up every day? Like, like we post, the 5 years ago where it's like you have to post on Instagram every single day, multiple times a day.
Yeah.
And I was like, do I need to do that with emails? What would you recommend for like someone starting off, if they're just starting off their email list? How often do you post all that?
Yeah, fantastic question, because the biggest kind of kickback I get, or almost like they don't want to do email because of this, is
Hmm.
because they don't want to be annoying. They do not want to be annoying, because
Yeah.
so many of us do get frustrated with people blowing up our email. And we have so many people that we send to spam, or like you said, we just have a burner email that we sign up for stuff and then never check.
Uh-huh.
So, how do we approach email marketing in a way that doesn't feel that way? Because I really think that there, some people think there's like a blanket where email marketing is just annoying. Like, you emailing me is just annoying, point blank, period. I don't care what you're sending. But I would argue that what you're sending is what completely determines whether or not you're annoying. Like if you're blowing up my email just saying 20% off, 20% off, 20% off, did you buy something? 20% off. That's annoying. But if
Yeah.
you're showing up in my inbox with value packed information that is helpful to me and that is saving me time or adding something to my day, whether it's inspiration or it's funny, like Tonic, the site shop, if anybody follows Tonic, they
Yes.
have a newsletter. Hilarious. I
So
read it
good.
every time.
I know, and
It's
it's so
just
long
because it's
too.
funny.
I'm like,
Yeah,
this is one of the longest emails that I read, but it's
everyone
captivating.
reads
And
it.
I'm like, I'm gonna
Yeah,
read this whole thing because it's interesting and you have my
yeah,
attention. Yeah.
yeah. And it's funny. Yeah, every time. So what you're sending is so important because it completely determines whether or not it's deemed valuable or you're going to my spam box.
Hmm.
So with that in mind, I like to email my list once a week with value that I'm giving them. I don't like to sell something to them more often than once a month. And even then, I like for there to be at least 5 value-based emails for any one email where I'm selling them something. And that does lots of things. One, it just shows up for my people, which is why a lot of us get into small business anyways, because we love
Hmm.
people, we love serving them, we love our clients. And going into email marketing with the goal of adding value to our audience aligns with all of those principles. So that's number one. Number two is consistently showing up and adding value increases the likelihood that they're going to open the rest of your emails. Like you're probably going to open any email Tonic sends you because you know they're going to be funny and engaging, but
Yeah.
there's going to be a handful of them that are selling something to you. Like, hey, I've sent you 10 emails that made you laugh and added value to your day. Now I'm going to pitch you a product. And that doesn't bother you at all because you love their emails and you
Hmm.
feel like they're adding value to you consistently. So I think showing up at least once a week or really what you can keep up with consistently is important. So if that's once every 2 weeks or once a month, whatever that looks like for you, but you want to make sure you can stay consistent in that. I know so many people that start an email list and they only email them when they think of it. But the problem with that is you're probably only thinking of it when you're selling something. So you
Yeah.
want to make sure that you're consistently showing up and adding value, especially before you sell something to your audience.
Yes. Oh, I love that, adding the value and just the like that scale of just value, 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 value. Here's a
Yeah.
sale. Here's
Yeah.
I'm at where I'm asking you money, and now I'm going back to all this value and creating that, because like your inbox is very one-sided a lot of times, where it's just like,
Yeah.
you think of most of the emails that you get, they are that like, hey, 20% off sale, or hey, we're doing this, I'm
Sure.
getting ready for my spring minis, and that kind of stuff. And then you're not always going to open those, but if you do provide value, then you're creating that, like you said, that just like system almost, um
Totally.
where you're not even thinking about it. You're just like, oh yeah, Hope send me another email. This is always
Yes.
filled with like a freebie or some sort of value or some insight that she got from just like living life, and was like, I'm going to share this to my email list
Yep.
today. And that kind of
Yeah.
value, there's always something valuable. So whenever you do open it up and it is a, hey, I'm getting my fall minis together, this is going to be the date if you want to get on the wait list. It's like, oh, yeah, well, I'm gonna do that, of course, because she's
Yeah.
offered so much value, like, I want to work with you now.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's not only just like you said, it's not just that you get those sale emails and you're not annoyed by them because you love the other emails. You get those
Mhm.
sale emails and now you're way more likely to buy because I've been showing up consistently, adding value, helping you, talking to you like you're a friend, opening the door to back and forth conversation by ending some of those emails with a question that opens the door. I'm building a relationship and a reputation of valuable content. So when I give you an opportunity to buy, not only are you not going to unsubscribe and you're not going to find it annoying, you're way more likely to actually invest your dollars in somebody that's shown up for you consistently.
Yes. Yes. And that, I mean, that is great. That's what we all want, is
Yeah,
that ability to bring in more leads and to bring in people that wanna work with you because they have that connection
sure.
with you because of the value that you've already shared.
Yeah,
And yeah,
absolutely.
I think that is great. One more thing that I think that maybe some of the listeners, especially photographers that aren't like maybe in the family scene, or even like with senior photographers where it's like, oh yeah, well, I photographed the oldest child, so now I know there's four others coming up, they'll probably hire me,
Sure.
so I want to have them on my list. But people like, wedding photographers that are just like, this is a one-time client. They are probably
Yep.
not coming back to have me photograph their second wedding. Um, but which I did. Funny enough, I had someone who
Oh,
years
that's
later was like, "This is a little bit awkward, but I really love the photos from my first wedding. Could you photograph the
oh,
second one?" I was like,
I love it.
"Absolutely." And I will not bring up his name.
Love
It's
it.
cool.
Yep. Love
But
it.
but like for people who might be thinking, I don't really have a repeat client business,
Mhm.
how can they use that email list? Or is that just something that they're thinking, but they actually might actually have repeat clients? What would you say to
Yeah.
that?
So I would say let's talk specifically weddings because I do think that's kind of a unique niche in the fact that you are only going to work with them one time.
Yeah.
And like with even with seniors, like you can work with siblings. You can there's angles there. But let's talk about weddings because I feel like that's a toughie. In my mind, there's two angles you can take. You can also do both. Angle one is what we kind of already talked about, where whether or not they book you as their photographer, you can send them value based emails that also give you an affiliate kickback. So,
Mm,
whether that is you including Amazon affiliate links for products that you love leading up to a wedding, or maybe you partner with an amazing company for your detail, like your flat lay backdrops, and you can sell those to your brides in their inbox, but get a major kickback because you have a relationship with that company. Same thing, even things like Rothy shoes. I was talking to one of my mastermind students yesterday, and she was saying she has an email that pitches those shoes as a perfect shoe for your honeymoon to spend a lot of time on your feet. And then she gets a
yeah.
kickback from those. And that already has an affiliate system built in. Same thing with HelloFresh or Home Chef. You can make revenue off of being an affiliate for value packed emails that just kick back some money to you based on links to products and services that you already use and love. So that's kind of angle one is some affiliate revenue based on recommendations to brides. Angle two that applies to any photographer is using email marketing to automate your print and product sales. Because I don't do in person print and product sales. I never have. I've never desired to.
Hmm.
But I have an email funnel after a session that I just drop my clients into once I deliver their gallery that really it kind of adds value, shows them like print and product displays in my house, links my favorite frames from IKEA that I get an affiliate kickback on, but also gives them a time sensitive coupon code to use on their prints and products. And them showing up consistently in their inbox to remind them of that jacks up the average print and product sale that I have. And it's auto fulfilled through my online gallery. It creates no extra work for me. I type those emails one time, I drop their email in there. They get value packed emails from me and a time sensitive offer that increases my print and product sales drastically. And it was work that I did one time to type up those emails.
Yes. I love that. It's so good because that is something that a lot of us, we don't like IPS, we don't like the in-person sales. It's just,
Right.
it's not my personality. I don't, maybe you don't have time to just like sit with
Sure.
every single client and walk through
Right.
their gallery and like, this would look great as, 16 by 20 over your couch and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But having that where you spend time, one time, to write out these emails in there's something that I forget who it was. I've heard it from multiple people, but it's like um automations, you are using your like the highest self, your person who's like on today, because we've all
Mhm.
responded to emails whenever we're on and it's just like it's flowing, everything is great. And we've
Yep.
also been responding to emails where it's just like, oh, my brain is not working today, I can't, whatever,
Yes.
here's just the here. But you're like, with that automation where you, as someone who was on that day writing all those that email copy, then that automation is like the highest hope going every single day, instead
Yeah.
of having to do that with wherever you're feeling that day. And yeah, that I think that is so great. And print sales is something that is overlooked by a ton of people. I know the first
So
time
many.
that I did an automated print sale, I made like $3,000 in a week, and I had maybe sold $600 worth of prints in the last
Yeah,
year because it wasn't a priority. It wasn't something that I was working on. But those emails were reminders of, hey, you've been thinking about this. Here's some mock-ups, and like this is what you could get, and this is there's even something special about that, you know, that little bit of a discount where it's like, oh well, we wanted to do this anyway, and now we get
right.
10% off. Like, we might as well go ahead and do
No
it now.
brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's even ways to take that a step further. Like, I will record video tutorials of how to use your online gallery and order your
Mm,
prints and products, film it one time, and then it's in this email, and now it's
yep.
automated. I never have to look at it again. And then you can even take it a step further. And now that you've added all of your client emails into an email marketing system, you can remind them before the holidays that maybe you just happen to have a sale on albums as Christmas gifts for your parents, or holiday cards that you can send to everybody in your family. You can do those sales more than just right after their session. You can automate that process. So you're bringing in kind of these like influxes of cash or cash injections at other times throughout the year just by sending a mass email to people you've already added to your list.
Yes. Oh, I love that. This is you've like brought so much great value, just like in all of those emails. You're just bringing all the value today. This is amazing. But yeah, well, thank you so
Sweet.
much. This has been a really great conversation. I have loved this. I'm definitely going to be updating my email list and changing some things up from just what we've talked about today. Before we kind of wrap up and get to like where people can follow you and all that, there's part of the show that I like to do where we talk about what we're loving. And
Love
this
it.
could be anything, a movie, book, whatever. What is something that you've been loving recently?
So, Hayden and I are currently watching Silo on Apple Plus, Apple TV, and it is so good. And they do new episodes every Friday, and we're hooked.
Okay.
Hooked.
I saw a clip because that's the one Rashida Jones is in that. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Where they're like, they're told that they can't go outside or something like from the time that
Mhm.
they're born. Yeah. I saw a
Yep.
clip of that on just like some random TikTok or something. I was like, what is this show? I want to watch this. This looks so good. It's like
So good.
very in the niche of the kind of shows that I love. So I
Yep.
have not started that yet, but
Yeah,
I
it's
really need
amazing,
to.
and it's just one of those ones that, like, sucks you in the first 10 minutes of the first episode, and then you just
Mm,
can't stop watching. So it's a great one to binge, and there's quite a
nice.
few episodes out now. So, yeah, totally worth
Nice.
watching.
Okay, awesome. Silo on Apple TV. I will definitely. I mean, it's already on my list. But we've got
Good.
Ted Lasso to finish up because we are behind on
Mm,
season 3. But yeah, okay, awesome. I am. Let's see. This week, I'm loving the pool. The pool is open now for the summer, and our kids are like. I was a water baby when I was a kid, and I still just love anything water, the beach, the lake, anything.
awesome.
And yeah, we took them yesterday actually for the first time this summer, and our youngest, who's a little bit over 2.5, she was very young last summer, and
Sure.
we pretty much just like had to hold her, have like the big floaty thing, and this was her first time of like wearing the full life jacket and just
Oh,
swimming around, and the whole time she was just like aggressively swimming and just like, yeah,
I
ah,
love
and just like
it.
she was having the best time. We're like, all right, she is definitely a water baby as well.
I love it. Oh,
Yeah.
that's the best. That's, like, how you know it's the start of summer. It's the best. Love
Yes.
it.
Yeah. So we've got the passes, and we're going to be going very regularly. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm loving that a lot. So, okay.
Love
Hope,
it.
where can people find you? Where can they follow along, learn more about email marketing and building their email list?
Yeah, so I'll give you 2 exciting things. If you are watching live right now, I actually have a free 1-hour class happening on Monday the 12th, where I'm diving even deeper than what we talked about today into how to make that first lead magnet or piece of value that you send your audience, and some more examples of ways that this could apply to your business. And I'm super excited about it. We have over 600 people signed up already. So I'll make sure you guys get the link to that class. It's on June
Yes.
12th at 2 p.m. And then if you're not watching live, you're watching the podcast later or listening later, I have a free quiz at hopetaylor.com/email quiz where you can answer a few questions about your business, your audience, who you serve, what you do. And I will actually send you a custom written welcome email template that you can use in your email marketing. So you can just take that template based on your answers in your business, customize a few things, and drop it into your email funnel so that you can have a tangible thing to start using right now.
Awesome. Yes, that is so good. I love those kind of quizzes and things.
Me
And
too.
like you told me about that whenever we were like scheduling this later or earlier, and I was like, I want to go take that quiz myself. Like I love the email templates that I have
They're
right
so
now,
fun.
but yeah, I'm always like, I want to go try another one. Like, see, because they're all so different, and like, I'm sure like yours brings in all of your expertise and the way that you speak and your copy and all of that. I'm like, I want to go check out
Yeah,
Taylor's or Hope's as well, and yeah,
love it.
so cool. Yeah, we will have that linked in the show notes for everyone, and I will post. A post on YouTube and also in the Facebook group of uh, your uh, your webinar. Is that was that right? It's a webinar
Yeah,
on
yeah,
Monday.
mhm,
Okay, okay. I was like,
yep.
that's not what she said. It wasn't. Yes. So yeah,
I didn't
I
say it,
will.
but it is. You're totally
Okay.
right.
Okay. Cool. Cool. But yeah, I will post the link to that so everyone can join in, and
Awesome.
yeah, that'll be great. And yeah, and Angelica Pompey's over here in the comments. She said that the quiz is amazing, spot on for
Aw,
her personality, and also that she's ready to take her email marketing to the next level after this conversation. So
yay!
yay, Angelica. Okay,
That makes me so
awesome.
happy.
Well, Hope, thank you so much for being on the show. I really enjoyed this, and I'm ready to take my email marketing to the next level too. So yeah, thank you for
I
being
love
my
it.
guest today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. This was an awesome conversation, and thanks so much to everybody that watched live.
All right. All right, y'all. We will see you for the next live episode in a couple weeks.